Hi, this is Ian Wright, and I'm just going to continue on this series about self-care with a little discussion on sleep and the importance of sleep. And I'm going to end it with a little meditation that can be helpful when trying to get to sleep, to trying to bring the brain back to a state of neutral, which is required in order for us to find sleep. So sleep, until recently, people didn't really understand the purpose of sleep. Why did we have to spend a third of our day sleeping? You know, the World Health Organization suggests that an adult needs 8 hours sleep, which is quite a lot, and most of us don't get that much sleep. And I'm going to talk about that and talk about why we don't. Younger children need a lot more hours sleep. A 6-month-old will sleep, on average, if you add them all up, for about 14 hours a day. A 5-year-old, 11 hours a day. Teenagers need a different sleep pattern. So they tend to go to bed late, but they tend to need to sleep in the mornings. And that's a very natural physiological process because their brains are remodeling. And I'll talk about that on another podcast, about how teenage brains are remodeling and how we should treat them. But actually, in some countries, they've been trying different ways of dealing with teenagers, in that knowing how the brain functions in a teenager, allowing school to start late, sort of 11 o'clock, and going on later because it suits them better. Because early mornings, I have 3 teenagers, early mornings aren't the best time for teenagers because their brains need that, and their brains are remodeling. So anyway, interestingly, as you get older, it gets harder to get sleep. There's a reduced quality of sleep, there's a reduced quantity of sleep, and the ability to stay asleep goes down. But the research has shown that actually you still need, as an older person, 8 hours sleep, but it's much harder to get it. So as we get older, the fragmentation of the sleep gets worse. Also, there are things like certain medications and weakness in the bladder that doesn't help in terms of maintaining sleep. So there are 2 main types of sleep: REM, rapid eye movement, and non-REM sleep, which is kind of split, I suppose, into 2 different types in itself. And there's been research showing why you need these 2 types of sleep, and the body goes into quick bursts, 50-minute maybe bursts of each of REM, and then non-REM, and then REM, and then back into non-REM throughout the night. And you need to go through 5 or 6 cycles of this, I think, in order to get a proper night's sleep. Now, the latest research would say that the very deepest sleep, which is non-REM, is about the cells in the body rebalancing themselves. It's like a healing process, a rebalancing process of the body's physiology. Happens in this deep sleep. It's how we kind of like recharge the batteries, as it were. REM sleep, the brain has been shown to slow down, and then that's the time when we dream a lot. And one aspect of that is about dreaming and how that is used for us to process what we're doing in the day. So it's like it's a ways of processing. It's been thought of as a way of processing difficult or painful memories in a space that is safe and infinitely creative. So in our dreams, we can bring in different aspects of thinking, and that's why people say sleep on it, because actually, it's funny, isn't it? Because if you're not sure about something, and the problem is if it keeps you awake, the best thing is to forget about it, go to sleep, and then see what it feels like in the morning. And I often have a different view on something. When I wake up, I've processed it on a different level, in a different way. So REM sleep is about processing. So this deep non-REM sleep helps to rebalance the body and the cells, and especially has an important effect on the immune system. It's also been shown to help the brain in terms of learning and making logical choices and emotional processing. So it's like the body needs sleep in order to process the day before and be ready, and the brain be ready for the day coming. And so any disruption in that, we perform, we all know that if we don't sleep so well, we perform badly. Our coordination goes out, we drop things, we're more likely to bump into things, we can't remember, our memory is disrupted. So chronic meaning long-term insufficient sleep, can have direct effects on the immune system. It disrupts our sugar balancing, it can have cardiovascular effects, and it can have effects on the nervous system in terms of concentration, memory, and even a predisposition to Alzheimer's and things like that. Also, it has an effect of disrupting the hormones that make us hungry and make us feel satisfied. So actually it can lead to obesity as well, because we tend to eat more if we haven't slept as well. That's all very well. We know why we should sleep, and actually it's one of the most important things we can do to rebalance and to actually heal our bodies, getting enough sleep. But actually, fine, how do we actually get sleep? That's the problem, because, we're super stimulated. Actually, it isn't just older people who have difficulty sleeping. It's young people, kids. My son sometimes has difficulty getting to sleep and staying asleep. It happens in children as well. And so through all ages now, sleep disturbance is a problem. Now, babies who have difficulty sleeping, that's a whole subject in itself, and that is often caused by a variety of factors that are giving them pain, or food issues, feeding difficulties, etc. But I'm not going to talk about that here. I'm talking about as we get slightly older, as children, teenagers, adults, and as we get older. And there are certain things that have been shown to be helpful in terms of sleeping. So we'll just go through them, and then I will do a little meditation which can help us. So temperature in the room is important. If it's too hot, sleep quality and ability to sleep is poorer. So we sleep better in a cooler room. That's why we sleep better out in nature, actually. What we do before we go to sleep seems to be very important in terms of no stimulants. Caffeine is too strong a stimulant for most people to sleep well on. So having a coffee after dinner is not a good idea. I mean, I personally like coffee, but I won't have coffee after lunch time because it's too much of a stimulant. Alcohol is actually, it's not a relaxant, it's actually a brain stimulant. So it can keep you awake as well. So you have to be careful with alcohol in the evenings as well in terms of good sleep. Exercise, some people can find relaxing and that can help them sleep. But other people, I personally find, if I exercise in the evening, it stimulates me and I find it hard to get to sleep. What we need in order to sleep is our nervous systems to come down to a point of quiet neutral, so that our sympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that deals with flight, fight, fright, the adrenaline, norepinephrine, these hormones, which are very important kind of stress hormones and allow us to get through our days, actually, that needs to be completely, that sympathetic tone in the body needs to come away and come to a quiet point of neutral before we sleep. It gets the nervous system. The nervous system has to kind of go out of gear. So what do we do to help that? Well, one thing I think that can be important is managing lighting. So in the evening, and as the evening goes on, the light should be softer and calmer. I personally like to have candles in the room, in the evening and have the light very low as it gets towards sort of later evening. It's very nice to calm and wind down. There should be no electrical stimulation, gamma stimulation from TVs, phones, video screens, social networking, etc. All of this is stimulating, not just on an emotional level, but on a physiological level, can stimulate our nervous systems. And so all of these electrical devices and TVs, etc., we shouldn't really be using at least an hour before bed. And, I always say this to parents with children, it's very hard to, wrest that phone out of the child's hand at night, but they need to in order to get a quality sleep, which actually sleep is most important in a developing child, because their brain and their bodies are still fundamentally developing and growing at night. So sleep is actually so important for children. So no electrics, and actually nothing plugged in the room. Don't charge your phone by the bed, because it leaves an electromagnetic radiation next to us. No plug-in clock radios by the bed. They can be stimulating. No TV in the bedroom, I think, is better. Plug out everything. Charge your phone next door. And so the room can be quiet, relatively cool, natural fibers close to you, things that cannot be kind of irritating. So the more natural, very good cottons, etc., that you wear, make sure there's enough air movement so that you're not stuffy. That's always a very hard thing, I think, in terms of managing sleep. And what I think is another thing is almost what I would call emotional declamping, meaning at the end of the day, you need to sit down with someone, a friend, partner, whatever, and just talk about the stress of your day, in a quiet, relaxing way. Not talk about strategy, talk more about, this was stressful, I did this. And so that there's this kind of winding down. It's like declamping, decompressing after the day. And the Chinese would say that the best time for that is 7 to 9 p.m., which is what they would call pericardium time, which is kind of the heart protector. And it's a very good time for gentle, warm-hearted conversation. And that actually, I think, is personally very helpful in terms of getting a good night's sleep. The important thing is about rhythm, I think. Night times and evening times should be about rhythm, about lighting, rhythm, gentle music, reading as opposed to stimulating TV. The news is not the best time to get the news is night, I don't think. And so that you can wind down. It's literally winding down so the nervous system is in a place of quiet, neutral, before going to sleep. Okay, there's a lot more on that subject, but that's a little introduction. I'm just going to do a little meditation around finding a neutral point. If your brain's a little lively, for example, and you're trying to settle. So lie down on your back and just allow yourself to feel your back, feel your legs, feel the back of your head on the pillow, and allow all of your body just to soften and kind of mold into what you're lying on. Hopefully it's on a bed that's soft. And let the bed hold your weight. And just bring your awareness towards your body and your breathing, and tune in to something that feels soft in your breathing. So breathe soft. And as you breathe out, just release any tension. Breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in ideally through your nose if you can. And when you breathe out through your mouth, you breathe out slightly longer than you breathe in, which has a little effect on stimulating the vagus nerve, which calms down the sympathetic nervous system. And as on the out-breath, you release and you let go. On the in-breath, you breathe in softness and soft, quiet in-breath. The out-breath, you let go. And as you let go, you sink a little bit and everything gets quieter. And if your brain is still talking about something, some unresolved, whatever your brain's thinking about, allow your brain, don't fight with that. Allow your brain to do that. And as soon as you allow it softens a little bit, then bring your awareness back to your breathing and the softness in your in-breath and the slightly longer out-breath when you release and relax. And slowly your body will get quieter. And calmer. And just allow your awareness to come onto a sense of stillness that's in the room. It's always there. We're held in stillness. Underneath all of the noise is stillness, and it's always there. And we are stillness. And with your out breath, let go. I wish you good sleep.